in the other corner is this huge cone-shaped white light. This is so much more than a light. This brings love, joy, peace. I had to give her that message. That was his daughter, and he's not going to let death get in the way of communicating with her when her boyfriend can see him. And what I personally now believe is that we all have intuitive abilities. It's a connection to the universe that you've got. It's built in. Everyone has significant intuitive abilities. You can read energy. You can read people's energy. You can read energy that's in the room. We are all one. We have to start accepting that fact first. My younger years, I spent rebelling against, it was Catholicism, but it could have been anything. Whatever my parents were throwing at me, it wasn't okay. And, I don't think it matters what the religion was. It's just, I would have rebelled against it regardless. So, having a little bit of a tumultuous childhood, wasn't very pleasant. Quite a bit of fighting going on in the house and things that I resented and, regretted later on. And everybody kind of, took part in everything. So, that's what led me down the path of not caring, going the route of atheism and just kind of like not giving an F about anything and being that troubled child, if you will. So I'm 20 years old when I have my NDE, and we'll fast forward to that. There is a gas leak from the stove on the first floor in the kitchen. It's natural gas. The gas rises. It goes up into my room, which is located directly above the kitchen. So I'm inhaling this while I'm sleeping. This is going on all night long. I have no idea. Nothing wakes me up. And in the morning, my mother turns on the stove, and the way I understand the story is there was a ball of flames, caught the wall on fire. There was a good amount of smoke. And my father was able to put it out with a fire extinguisher, and call 911. But the thing is that it wasn't the smoke and it wasn't the fire that got me. It was the gas, because I had been inhaling that for hours. So I hear the commotion downstairs, and I hear the fire trucks and the police, and I hear the radios and everything. And I go to get out of bed. And the first thing I notice is that certain parts of my body won't move. I remember I was able to use my right arm and a little bit of my left. And that's essentially how I got out of that bed, get to the edge of the bed, and I tumble out, and I hit face first. Boom, hit the floor. And you know how you get hit and you're just waiting for that pain to set in? Like it's like a shock at first, and you're like, oh my God, that's really going to hurt bad. Well, the pain never came. I hit the floor. There was no pain. And there was no pain because I'm not in that body anymore. It was like I was pulled out right before the pain sets in. And if you picture the room, it's a perfect square. And I'm in the corner of the room, almost like a neutral corner, if you will. And I'm looking down at my lifeless body. And I remember it so vividly. I mean, I could tell you what I was wearing and how I was faced and everything, every detail of that experience. And directly across from me, adjacent in the other corner, is this huge cone-shaped white light. And when I call it a white light, I'm really doing this a disservice, because this is not a light. This is so much more than a light. This brings love, joy, peace, calmness, euphoria, and I'm in the light. It's shining on my energetic self, not my dead self, but me, the real me, that's now outside of my body. And I'm one with the light. And this is the most incredible feeling I've ever felt in my entire life. I guess it's not my life, right? It's afterlife. But it's the most incredible feeling. And I wanted to go into the light. So I started to go in a little bit, and I was apprehensive. And there was a being at the end of the light who said my name and said, "It's okay, Ray. It's okay to come into the light." And I was like, the light knows my name. And I proceeded to go in a little bit, and then I went a little further. And as I would go a little bit further, the euphoria would increase. The feeling got better, like if that was possible. So as I'm going into the light, what happens is my father kicks in the door, scoops me up on the floor, and is screaming. He's distraught, crying, screaming, yelling for the paramedics to come up to save my life. What he doesn't know is it's too late, but I see him hugging me and emotionally distraught, which was not something you'd ever see from my father. He was emotionless. He was angry. We didn't have a great relationship. He was just angry all the time. And, but I guess like I longed for that, and I always wanted to have that in my life. And so I asked the presence in the light if it was okay if I went back. And I don't know if that's why I was allowed to go back. I have no idea why I was allowed to go back, but I did go back. And when I woke up and I came to, I wasn't in his arms anymore, and I wasn't in that room. I woke up and I was downstairs now on the living room floor, and the paramedics are working on me, and they're, doing their stuff and talking back and forth in medical jargon. And I'm like, guys, I feel great. That euphoria kind of stays with you in your body. It's like tingly, and you're still feeling that. And I'm like, I'm swear to God, I'm fine. And they're like, you're far from fine. And I'm like, but I've never felt better in my life. And they're like, just lay there and shut up. And I said, but did you see the light? Did you hear the voice? Did you catch any of that? And they start looking at each other and looking around the room, and everybody starts looking at each other like, what's this kid talking about? He's cuckoo. And so I just shut that down. I didn't want to wind up in the wrong hospital. So I just shut up. That didn't happen. Right. So I just started to find an analytical way that I could chalk this up to a non-event, put it into a box, and tuck it away. And this is what I did. I figured, okay, so I got to the edge of the bed and I pulled myself out, and the white light was a sunny day because I fell under a window, which is true. I fell under a window, and maybe that was the white light. And the euphoria and everything, maybe I was just so high on gas fumes that I just made the rest of the stuff up. And that's what I told myself. And I kept that. I held on to that for years. But here's the thing. Things started to change after that. Strange things, for lack of a better word, would start to happen that I couldn't explain.
Lesson number 2. You can get signs from the other side in a lot of different ways. Sometimes these signs may frighten you, like they did for Ray at the beginning. Years later, Ray learned that these signs were not coming from a bad place. Once he realized that, he was able to cope and understand better. It also helped him recognize there wasn't anything wrong with him, and he wasn't losing his mind.
For example, I got my first apartment. I was like, okay, this is my bachelor pad. This is going to be great. We're going to have parties all the time, and all my friends are going to come over. And that never happened. Every time I was in that apartment from the day I moved in, I felt other presences in the room. I felt like the room was already filled with people. I could feel other people's, for lack of a better word, emotions in the room.
While you're feeling all of this, after you've had this experience, are you still an atheist?
Yeah, I'm trying to be.
Right, okay.
I'm trying to hold on to that belief.
Okay.
It's getting harder and harder, but I'm really trying because it's simpler that way. And when you're in your 20s and all you want to do is party, you're not thinking like that. So, or at least I wasn't. I can't speak for everybody. But I wanted to pack this away. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to know what it was. But they were making it harder and harder for me to not realize that they're in this room, and lights would go on and off, TVs on and off, and blenders and toasters, anything that was electric, forget about it. It was on and off all the time. And the telephones, they were landlines at that time, and they would just go out and go back on and go back out. And I remember I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and I said, in jest, I was totally kidding around. I said, I think my apartment's haunted. And it went click. And I called him back. I said, why'd you hang up on me? He goes, I didn't hang up. I said, I thought you did. I said, no, I thought you did. I said, well, anyway, I think my house is haunted. Click. All right. I get the point. Now I'm like really getting paranoid.
You gotta move.
Yeah, right. I got to move. I got to go. And I do. I don't even get through the whole lease. It was 12 months. I got out in 10 and I went to my next place and I'm like, okay, whew, that was a close one. I don't know how to explain that, but that was close. So here we are now in this new place and here's where the party's going to be and here's where everything's going to happen. And I move in and the same shit happens. Excuse my language. Same stuff all over again, just in a new environment. The places aren't haunted. Ray's haunted. It doesn't matter where I go, but I still will not accept this yet. I still will not accept this as a reality. So what do you do when you're in your 20s and you start to think that you're losing your mind? And in the back of my mind, I kind of believed what I saw because it's so intense. And NDE is unlike anything I could possibly put into words. It's an experience that you can't really describe it. There's no words for it. You can't dismiss it, no matter how hard you try. So in the back of my mind, I started to really believe that something, had happened on that day. And certainly everything that was happening around me was leading me to believe the same. But I got to try to stick to being an atheist. So how do I do this? I'm crazy. Everybody told me I was crazy anyway. When I said, there's things flying around the room and I can feel presences, everybody's like, oh, yeah, you're crazy. Okay, yeah, whatever you say, Ray. All right. Have another drink. And that's what I turned to, was drugs and alcohol to turn that off because they wouldn't let me sleep. It was like, word is out. This kid can see us and hear us. We're going there. Let's bother him. And it was on. But I've never seen energy as a person yet.
It sounds like you were unsettled. When you saw these energies, were you scared?
Yeah.
Okay. And were they menacing or were they just there?
Well, at the time, they're menacing because I don't understand what they're doing yet. Many, many years later, I understand now, today, what they were just trying to get my attention. They had a message to share with someone. They don't really haunt anybody. If you can see, feel, or whatever with them, interact, they're just trying to get a message to a loved one. That's all. And they're being persistent about it.
Lesson number 3. Your loved ones are there on the other side and they can try to reach you, even and sometimes especially if you had a difficult relationship on Earth. Ray worked on his health and had children with his first wife. They eventually divorced and he started dating again, which is where this next lesson starts.
I went online because that's how it was done or is done. And I joined a website and I'll never forget. She was the third one down on the right side. And the website is trying to get me to join. Here's some ladies in your area. And her picture popped up and I was like, oh my God, that's my wife. I knew her without knowing her. So when we meet in the very early stages of our relationship, I think we're only dating 2 months or so. And remember, I've seen energy. I've felt energy. I've felt these weird situations and things, but it's never been a person. It's never done anything to lead me to believe it was. So, but this is the first time. This is what occurs. It's like a movie screen opens up in my mind. I don't see these things with my eyes. I don't hear these things with my ears. I realize that now. Didn't know that then. But it's like a movie screen opens up and there's a man on the movie screen. And the man on the movie screen is speaking to me. And he's a heavy-set guy. He's got a beard, a mustache. He's got this kind of strange shirt on that I'll never forget. And he says, I effed up. I made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot. Exact words. And I was like, what was that? I was at work and I was like looking around and I was like, anybody else see that? Nobody's reacting. Okay. Just chill. And then it comes again. I go to the bathroom and I'm a little wobbly, a little off. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on here? So I say I have a headache and I go home. It was a Friday. So I'm like, I got the whole weekend. I don't know what's happening, but I'll figure it out. Maybe I'm sick. Maybe I didn't eat. I don't know. Maybe I ate something bad. So, but what happens is all night long, he's still there saying the same thing. I effed up. I made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot. And I'm like, I don't know who this is. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know who the her is. I have no idea what you're talking about and who you are. Saturday, it occurs almost every hour on the hour. And by Sunday, it seems like every 5 minutes. He was the most persistent individual I've ever come across, presented himself as in human form and would not leave me be. That message had to get to somebody, and he was not going to let a little thing like death get in the way of it. So, but I don't believe in him. I don't believe in any of this. And I remember I could not function on Sunday. I couldn't drive anymore. Like, he was too interruptive, and I couldn't have a conversation with anyone. And I was at the counter paying for my stuff, and the lady goes, "Are you okay, sir?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And I took my credit card and went to my car, and I just broke down because I changed my whole life. I changed every aspect of everything. Went to rehab, got a good job, made a good money, raised my kids in what I thought was a great way. I played the game by the rules. And now I'm crazy. Now I'm mentally ill. Well, thank you very much, whoever. And this is the way I felt. I got to check myself into a hospital and tell them I'm crazy. Don't let me out. I see things. They're not there. And this is what I truly believe is happening to me. And I have to tell her so that she can find somebody else who's not crazy. And that hurt, but I had to tell her. And I finally get the courage to tell her. And, if this story's not crazy enough, let me mention she is a doctor of psychology and neuropsychology by trade. So I'm going to tell a doctor of psychology who I'm in love with, hey, by the way, I see people that aren't really there. This is going to be fantastic. This is going to be the best dinner ever. It was actually over the phone. But anyway, I tell her. And I don't get the reaction I think I'm going to get. I think she's going to tell me, she's going to give me a referral to another doctor. Here you go. Good luck. See you around. And instead she says, no. She goes, wait a minute. Tell me that again. And I told her again. And she says, that sounds like my dad. And I'm like, babe, you told me your dad was dead. You think I'm seeing dead people? Now I think she's crazy. And she's like, no, I've been to mediums. You don't understand. I said, what the hell's a medium? She goes, you are. And I said, I'm not. How can I be a medium? I'm an atheist. I don't even believe in this shit. Stop it right now. She goes, just relax. You might be a medium and you don't know it. So I don't know what that is. She proceeds to explain it to me. And then she says that she is going to make an appointment for she and I to see a medium who's going to be in our area. Now, here's the thing. Right after I gave her the message, he's gone. He never returns. I had to give her that message. That was his daughter, and he's not going to let death get in the way of communicating with her when her boyfriend can see him. And he's like, I have to get that message. What turned out to be a very serious message, which I explain. I go on a little bit in the book. I go to meet with the medium, and I said, well, sometimes I see things that aren't really there, and sometimes they're people, and they actually talk to me. And she goes, me too. And I was like, oh my God, where are we going with this? So she proceeds to validate everything that happened to me with him and everything that happened previously, because I go through the steps of how do you feel it? What happens first? What happens second? What happens third? This, then, and the movie screen opens up and she goes, stop. That's how we see it. I said, who's we? She goes, mediums. And I was like, holy cow. You're going to tell me this is real? And she's like, you're one of us. I was like, this is not happening. So now I'm not crazy and I'm this other thing, but I don't know what to do with that. It's completely new to me. And I'm having a tough time dealing with the fact that I was wrong about being an atheist now.
So now's the point you decide that you're not an atheist anymore.
Right. That's it.
By the way, Ray's girlfriend in the story is now his wife. So, lesson number 4, we are all psychic. Or as Ray would prefer to say, we all have intuitive abilities. Ray mentored the medium he spoke to and then was accepted into a more rigorous program. During this time of learning, he discovered key insights about our intuitive nature as humans.
And what I personally now believe is that we all have intuitive abilities. We all are psychic. I don't like to use the word psychic because it's been just, it's kind of synonymous with fraudulent behavior now. So let's call it intuitive. We all have that. You're born with that. It's a connection to the universe that you've got. It's built in. And we kind of deviate away from that because we get involved with life, just the regular macro matter world that we live in. And it pulls us away from our spirituality. You have to find your way back or have some pretty open-minded, parents who are going to be like, teach you this, because I didn't know anybody that was like that. Everybody clinged to religion and it could not do any wrong. And that's the way it was, and period, done deal. And that didn't really fly with me. And if that works for you, that's great. That's wonderful. I'm never going to try to change anybody's beliefs, but that's not mine. And I think I think they all have something to offer. I think if you take a little of this one, little of this one, little of this one, you put it all together, that now you've got something. It's not all one way or the other. And there's other things that are happening that are very important. So we have this connection with the universe, and you can call the universe God or use whatever term you wish to use. That's fine. We're all kind of talking about a creator or, an energetic entity of that we are connected to. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned with him, you had asked me if anybody can do it. I don't know if anybody can be a medium, but everybody is a psychic. You already are a psychic. You absolutely can develop that. Mediumship seems to be certain people get it easier than others. I don't know if that's a learnable thing or what. I really don't know. That's just honestly, I don't know. But everyone has significant intuitive abilities. You can read energy. You can read people's energy. You can read energy that's in the room of people that you can't see. You can read energy from across the universe. You can read energy in another country. When two twins separate, and one's in New York and the other one's in California, and the one in New York is in trouble, and the California one calls and says, "Are you in trouble?" and just knows, you can't tell me that's not real, So that type of energy, that's quantum entanglement. That's an example of quantum entanglement. That is a real physics principle that's been proven. So these are real, very real things. And one of the things that I sought out to do after I had learned all this, I went back to school and I learned metaphysics, working on my PhD, and all the mentors that I've had. And I studied physics on my own, and I started to put science and spirituality together, and I started to find these links. And that's what the second book is. And I talk about those links and how you can utilize this in your everyday life. You don't have to stop everything you're doing. I mean, we still have we have 4 kids. She has 2, I have 2, and they have to go to college, and we have to pay off the mortgage, and we have, we're regular people, but we use these principles every single day to navigate our life. And anybody can do that. And that's what I teach now. That's what I coach, is how can you use these principles in everyday life to get the things that you want and need in the universal collective consciousness, right? We're all connected to that. Therefore, we are all one. And we have to start accepting that fact first and realize that, and stop separating ourselves. I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm this, I'm that. Even when it comes to other things, strip away the labels. We have to take those away and remember we're spirit in human form, and we need to come together and figure this thing out. Don't be so rigid that, if our ideas are different, great. I love your ideas. Maybe I don't believe in them, but I let's hug anyway. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, life's too short. We're in this experience together. Let's work it out. Let's figure it out.
Lesson number 5. We learn through suffering, but we should not inflict suffering on others.
What I believe is that we must become enlightened, like the Buddha told us, in one lifetime. And if you don't do it in one lifetime, it's kind of like you have to come back and do it again. And each time you return, you are learning things about yourself, and you're learning things about the universe. And one of the main things, I guess this is a lot of Buddhism that's coming out of me right now, is suffering teaches us the most. So when we endure something and we say, why did I have to deal with that? Why did I have to go through that? Well, it's because you learned something from it. You took a positive away from that. And it was through that negative that you now have this positive. You now have this ability. If I didn't go through the traumas that I went through, I have no business helping other people. It's because of those that I was able to write these books, go through what I went through, and now be able to give it to other people. So without having those experiences, you can never get to that point. And I'm not enlightened. I am far from enlightened. I'm not trying to say that at all, but I'm working on it, and I'm a work in progress, and I'm going to continue to try to get there. But if I don't, I think it's, I think it's a do-over. That's kind of the way I see it.
That idea of suffering teaching us a lot, I found is controversial on this channel, but after being told it by so many different guests, I really have come to believe that. And it's made me view my trials and struggles in a completely different way. So yeah. I'm grateful for that message. And I hope the people who can benefit from it hear that too. Do you have any idea what would have been on the other side of that light had you continued to go into it?
Oh God, I wish I did. Yeah, I mean, when I came back, after I came back, I was not thrilled by any means. I was in the hospital, and the effects, that euphoria wears off eventually. It doesn't stay around forever, and boom, it's like a bomb went off in my whole. Everything hurt. I mean, every single thing hurt. Because when you're in an energetic form, you don't have any pain, nothing. So every little physical ailment that you might have that your brain just like disregards, you hurt your elbow 3 years ago and it hurts, but you don't notice it anymore because the brain is like, well, we're not fixing the elbow, so let's just forget about it, right? So all those little things, it's like, they're just all back, and it's painful. Not just that. I mean, I never had the relationship with my dad I was looking for, and certain aspects of my life just simply didn't change. And so, I mean, I'm not in any rush to go back now because I've learned so much from that experience and after that experience. And I've also been able to reconcile with the things that happened before it, which is even more important. That's where I learned, because the traumas that were before that and a little after that were things that I needed to learn. So I ultimately, I say in jest, I didn't make the right choice. Either way, I would have been fine, but I think I did make the right choice.
I'm very grateful you did come back to share your story.
Thank you.
I want to ask about how viewers can connect with you or hear more from you. But first, before I do that, is there anything else you'd like to leave our viewers with?
Yeah, I think one of the things I mentioned already, we all come from one place. We are all one. And so to hurt your fellow man or woman is to really ultimately hurt yourself. And I do believe karma exists, and it will come back to you. And we have to strip away the separators, the labels. We have to get rid of the I'm a this or I'm a that, and just come together. And I know that's, talk about controversial. People are going to be like, how are we going to do that? But we've got to at least try. We've got to find a way, because, especially today more than ever, we need this. We need to remember we're spirit in human form and we're temporarily here. Let's work together.
I absolutely agree. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So, for people who are watching this and want to read more from you, hear more from you, what are the best ways they can do that?
So my website is raycatania.com. And there you'll see more information about the Awakening series and the books that are in it. You can also get them in any bookstore around the world. I also do private coaching and online courses. And there's new things that are coming out that I can't talk about yet, but I'm really excited. And they will be announced up there too. So raycatania.com. Thank you for letting me say that. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Ray Catania for this conversation and for your time. I've included the links to his books and his website in the video description. And thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. Most of the people who watch our channel are actually not subscribed. So please, if you have a moment, just click that button and hit subscribe. It really helps our channel.